Have you ever noticed how quickly your mood can shift from calm to chaos, just because someone said something that rubbed you the wrong way? Maybe it was a harsh comment from a colleague, an unexpected criticism, or even just a look that seemed dismissive. Suddenly, your entire day feels hijacked by emotions you didn't choose to feel. But here's what the ancient Stoics understood over 2,000 years ago. Emotions don't control you unless you let them. Imagine having the mental strength to remain unshaken, no matter what emotional storms others try to create around you. Picture yourself walking through life with such inner stability that petty conflicts, criticism, and even betrayal bounce off you like rain off an umbrella. That's the power of Stoic emotional mastery. And it's not just ancient philosophy, it's a practical roadmap to freedom. If you're ready to discover how the greatest minds in history stayed emotionally bulletproof, then hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because you're about to learn secrets that will change how you experience every challenging moment for the rest of your life. These aren't feel-good platitudes. These are battle-tested strategies used by emperors, philosophers, and leaders who faced far greater challenges than we do today. So let's dive into the Stoic method for emotional independence. The first principle that will revolutionize your emotional life is understanding that your feelings are not facts, they're interpretations. When someone cuts you off in traffic, your anger isn't caused by their action, it's caused by your interpretation that they disrespected you, wronged you, or somehow diminished your worth. But what if you interpreted it differently? What if you thought, maybe they're rushing to the hospital, maybe they didn't see me, maybe they're having the worst day of their life? Suddenly, the same event creates completely different emotions. The Stoics called this the discipline of perception, and it's the foundation of emotional freedom. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength when you grasp that your emotions come from your thoughts about events, not the events themselves. You gain the ability to choose your emotional state regardless of circumstances. Think of your mind as a fortress. The only way negative emotions can enter is if you open the gates by choosing thoughts that invite them." In the second transformative principle is accepting what you cannot control while focusing entirely on what you can. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest teachers, created a simple but profound framework. Some things are within our power, while others are not within our power, are our opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, position in life. And in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. Most emotional suffering comes from trying to control things outside our power. When someone doesn't respond to your message the way you hoped, you suffer. When your boss doesn't recognize your hard work, you suffer. When the weather ruins your plans, you suffer. But all of this suffering is optional. The moment you accept that you can only control your thoughts, actions, and responses, you become emotionally invincible. Imagine the relief of no longer feeling responsible for other people's moods, decisions, or opinions about you. Picture how calm you'd feel, knowing that your worth isn't determined by external validation, but by your own character and choices. The third secret of Stoic emotional mastery is practicing negative visualization. This might sound pessimistic, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for building resilience and gratitude. The Stoics regularly imagined losing the things and people they valued most, not to be morbid, but to prepare themselves mentally and to appreciate what they have while they have it. When you visualize your car breaking down, your job ending, or even losing someone you love, you accomplish two things. First, you become less attached to outcomes that are ultimately beyond your control. Second, you develop profound gratitude for your current circumstances. Seneca, the wealthy Roman advisor, practiced this by occasionally living like he had nothing, sleeping on the floor, eating simple food, wearing basic clothes. He discovered that even his worst-case scenarios were manageable, and this gave him tremendous peace of mind, knowing he could handle whatever life threw at him. Try this. Spend 5 minutes imagining losing something you take for granted: your health, your home, your closest relationship. Notice how this makes you feel grateful for what you have right now and more prepared to handle difficulties if they arise. The fourth pillar of emotional strength is learning to see obstacles as opportunities for growth. The Stoics believe that everything that happens to us can serve our development if we choose to learn from it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When someone criticizes you unfairly, instead of getting defensive, ask yourself, what can this teach me about patience, about my ego, about communicating more clearly? When you face a setback, instead of wallowing in self-pity, ask how this experience can make you stronger, more resilient, more wise. Every challenge becomes a training ground for your character, instead of a threat to your happiness. This reframe transforms you from a victim of circumstances into a student of life, constantly growing and improving through whatever experiences come your way. The fifth fundamental principle is understanding the temporary nature of all emotions. The Stoics were masters at stepping back and seeing the bigger picture. When you're consumed by anger, hurt, or frustration, it feels permanent and all-consuming. But emotions are like weather systems. They arise, peak, and then pass away naturally. If you don't feed them with repetitive thoughts and dramatization, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything is temporary, including his own life. This perspective doesn't minimize real pain, but it prevents you from making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. When someone hurts your feelings, instead of nursing that wound for days or weeks, remind yourself, this feeling will pass if I let it. I don't need to keep it alive by replaying the incident over and over. The Stoics practice seeing their current problems from the perspective of time. Would this matter in a year? In 10 years, on your deathbed? This cosmic perspective helps you allocate your emotional energy wisely, saving your deepest concerns for things that truly matter. The sixth secret is developing what Seneca called the inner citadel, a core of self-worth. That no external force can touch your value as a human being doesn't depend on your achievements, your possessions, your relationships, or other people's opinions. It comes from your capacity for reason, virtue, and growth when you truly internalize. This truth criticism loses its sting because you know your worth isn't up for debate. Failures become learning experiences rather than identity threats. Rejection becomes redirection rather than personal invalidation. The Stoics cultivated virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, not for external rewards, but because living virtuously creates an unshakable foundation of self-respect that no one can take away from you. When your sense of worth comes from your character rather than your circumstances, you become emotionally anti-fragile, growing stronger through challenges rather than being weakened by them. The seventh transformative practice is learning to respond rather than react. There's a crucial difference between these two approaches. Reacting is immediate, emotional, and often regrettable. Responding is thoughtful, measured, and aligned with your values. When someone insults you, your immediate reaction might be to insult them back, but a thoughtful response might be silence, a clarifying question, or simply walking away. The Stoics practiced inserting a pause between stimulus and response, using that gap to choose their actions wisely. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor who studied ancient philosophy, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." This pause is where your power lives, not in controlling what happens to you, but in controlling how you respond to what happens to you. Every time you choose your response deliberately, rather than reacting automatically, You strengthen your emotional discipline and move closer to true freedom. The eighth principle involves accepting other people exactly as they are rather than how you wish they were. Most emotional turbulence comes from expecting others to think, feel, and behave according to your standards. But everyone operates from their own experiences, values, and limitations. When you accept that people will disappoint you, act selfishly, make mistakes, and sometimes treat you poorly, you stop taking their behavior personally. You realize their actions reflect their character, not your worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." This doesn't mean tolerating abuse or abandoning boundaries. It means understanding that people's limitations aren't about you. They're about their own struggles with wisdom and virtue. The ninth secret is cultivating gratitude as a daily practice. Not just when things go well, but especially when they don't. The Stoics understood that gratitude is a choice that transforms your entire experience of life, even in difficult circumstances. You can find something to appreciate: your health, your mind, your ability to learn and grow, your capacity for love. When Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, wars, and political intrigue, he still wrote daily about things he was grateful for, including the character flaws of others, because they taught him patience and understanding. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in imperfect circumstances, there are gifts to be found, lessons to be learned, and reasons for appreciation. This practice rewires your brain to notice what's working in your life, rather than fixating on what's wrong, creating a foundation of contentment that external circumstances cannot shake. The 10th and final principle is understanding that true strength comes not from avoiding difficulties, but from developing the capacity to handle whatever comes your way. The Stoics didn't seek easy lives. They sought strong characters. They trained themselves like athletes of the mind, constantly building their capacity for wisdom, patience, courage, and resilience. Epictetus taught his students to view hardships as training exercises sent by the universe to test and strengthen their virtue, just as physical exercise breaks down muscle fibers so they can grow back stronger. Emotional challenges break down your old patterns of thinking and feeling so you can develop greater wisdom and stability. Every person who triggers you, every situation that frustrates you, every setback that disappoints you is an opportunity to practice Stoic principles and become more emotionally resilient. The remarkable thing about these Stoic teachings is that they're not just philosophy, they're practical tools that work immediately. The moment you start applying these principles, you'll notice a shift in how you experience challenging situations. You'll find yourself less reactive, more thoughtful, and increasingly unshakable in the face of life's inevitable storms. You'll discover that happiness isn't about having perfect circumstances. It's about developing the wisdom and strength to find peace, regardless of what's happening around you. The Stoics believed that the highest human achievement is not wealth, fame, or pleasure, but the development of character that allows you to remain virtuous and content, no matter what fortune brings your way. Remember, these principles require practice like learning any skill. Emotional mastery takes time, patience, and consistent effort. But every time you choose to interpret events constructively, accept what you cannot control. Focus on your response rather than others' actions, and maintain gratitude even in difficult times. You're building the kind of inner strength that makes you truly free. Start with one principle that resonates most strongly with you and practice it consistently for a week. Notice how it changes your experience, then gradually incorporate the others until Stoic wisdom becomes your natural way of thinking and living. The ancient Stoics faced wars, diseases, political upheaval, and personal tragedies. Yet they developed a philosophy that allowed them to remain calm, wise, and virtuous through it all. Their secrets aren't complicated. but they are profound. And when you apply them consistently, you'll discover what they knew, that true happiness and peace come not from controlling your circumstances, but from mastering your responses to them. You have everything you need within you right now to begin this transformation. The only question is whether you'll choose to use these tools or continue letting your emotions be manipulated by forces outside your control. The choice, as always, is entirely yours. And that choice is where your power and your freedom truly begin.